Hi guys. So I thought that tonight I would just do a talk while I'm taking my soak. So I'm just going to show some video that I took while we were driving around to a job. The sky was really interesting that night, so I just grabbed my camera and started videoing. Anyways, we're entering into the holiday season, and I am reminded that the holidays have always, not always, but since I was about 16, they've been really hard for me. I had a pretty traumatic event happen in my life around December 10th, December 13th time frame when I was a teenager. It's a long time ago. It's a healed wound, but it's when my dad shot and killed his wife and then himself. And so I had to learn how to become a stronger person and a weaker person at the same time because of the way the events played out. I'm not really sure why the families decided to do combined funerals given the circumstances, but that happened. And as you can imagine, the mother of my stepmother was having some difficulty with it, and I can completely understand that. And it manifested itself in a way that wasn't very pleasant towards myself and my siblings. So what I learned from that was there was a part of me that felt a little bit sorry for myself, but I felt more sorry for her because who can't make sense of that, right? Why would you have those funerals combined? And I'm not sure who made those calls, those kind of judgment calls back then, but it was traumatic for everybody given the circumstances to begin with. The adjustment of becoming the daughter of a murderer was tough. It was tougher for my siblings, I think. Not really sure why. Maybe they just couldn't handle it. They had been through a lot already, even more than I had gone through. So it was an extra level of stress that they didn't need. Over the years, we've all been able to, find our way, find our balance throughout our lives. All of us have, stumbled and stuff and taken a few wrong turns. But so I was talking about this adjustment that I was having to make, learning how to become the daughter of a murderer. And being a new mom myself when that happened, and in high school having so much going at that time, to add something like this was pretty heavy, and it was a hard thing to learn how to be. You can't undo what your parents have done, obviously. So how do you carry that type of a thing around with you? You can't really reconcile that with anybody. They say they forgive you, but their family member is still gone. And in this area, she was a member of the LDS Church, and she was well respected. She was a school teacher. And it was a hard thing for their entire community to have happen. And my last name became very recognized very quick because my maiden name is Fox. It's not anything with a J. So, and that's an easy name to recognize. There's not a lot in this area. So I felt, I guess I put it on myself, this shroud of shame for what he had done. And it took me a long time to understand that I didn't have to wear that. I never really had to wear it to begin with. It was all something that was self-imposed on me because I am not the one that committed that act. So eventually I let go of that guilt. And I mean, I still have compassion and love for everybody that was involved in that. And I'm hoping that everybody else will be able to heal the same, maybe not in the same manner that I did, but that they'll eventually recover from that too. So that was kind of dark and heavy beginning, but that's kind of how my holidays are typically, is dark and heavy. The last few years we've had somebody in intensive care each holiday season, so that kind of, it feeds into that negative vibe, and I don't get sucked into that anymore. I used to, but I don't get sucked into that anymore. I just kind of, I am observant. It's something I've learned about myself, is that I've been very observant throughout my life and quiet, so I could pay pretty close attention to little details that were happening around me. Just something I thought I'd throw in there. So I talk about my kids a lot, and I'm reminded this holiday season, to help my children pace themselves, and when they're eating, to make sure that they chew their food before they swallow it. And I have one daughter that has a kind of a mild eating disorder, and she tends to swallow her food before it's completely chewed, and it can cause you to choke. And sometimes we get a little bit excited and eager at that holiday and take off either too big of bites or put too much in our mouth at once and try to chew that up and swallow it, and then problems can come. Heck, I learned that just a couple of weeks ago with my husband in the truck, choking on his lunch. And that happened so incredibly fast. Never saw it coming. So I just remind my kids that, and they have this, we live in a multicultural neighborhood, I'll put it that way. And we have Hispanic neighbors and Indian neighbors, and just about every race. And we all have different traditions. And so when they bring their friends over, I'm always curious to know what their family traditions are. And I ask them, and then I try to find some way that I can relate with that in my own life, and ask them questions that make them know that I respect, who they are and what their family traditions are. And even sometimes I'll ask them for recipes, because why not, And that kind of reminds me that I read somewhere once, it said that we shouldn't judge people by what food they eat, It's not what goes into the body, it's what comes out of the mouth, that comes out of the heart. And even though at first glance, some of those foods might seem a little bit tainted, or maybe it's been sitting in your fridge for a while and it's spoiled or something, that kind of stuff, yeah, throw that out. But if there's something that's new that somebody brought over, why not sample it? Heck, even eat the whole meal with them. Why not? Do something a little bit different. And then next year, maybe you'll still want the turkey, and maybe next year you'll add another dish that's from another ethnic group. Who knows? But these times are all about learning new things and living those new things that you learn along the way. So anyway, my soak's just about over, so I figure I'll hop off of here, and it looks like my camera wasn't playing the video anyways for most of it. So I'll run and edit out that other part. I think I've said everything I needed to say, and I love you guys, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye.